All right, welcome back to the Bean Life Science Museum, guys. Okay, sorry, I got a notification just letting me know that I couldn't turn my phone while I was presenting, but we're good to go. Welcome back. Like I said, we're doing Life Science Live today, and today's subject is dogs and wolves. Now, this is actually one of my favorite subjects to talk about. One of my favorite animals of all time are dogs. They have really interesting evolution and really interesting psychology, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I'm over here by our evolution exhibit, right by the artificial selection right here, because dogs have evolved through artificial selection. So first things first, let's talk about wolves versus dogs a little bit. Now they are the same species. They are Canis lupus. And every single dog that you'll ever meet is Canis lupus, which is why you can easily mix breeds of dogs. You can have, a poodle mixed with a Labrador, or a shepherd mixed with a husky, or a Chihuahua mixed with a pinscher. Like, you can have any dog mixed with another breed, and it will be a viable dog, a viable animal, which means that it can then breed later. So some animals are able to mate and produce offspring, but that offspring will not be able to mate. For example, like ligers. It's a lion and a tiger, but when they breed and they produce an heir, that organism will not be able to pass on its genes, so it is not viable. Now, because they're all the same species, even though they look vastly different from each other because of the breeds, you're able to breed all kinds of dogs with other dogs, or even dogs with wolves. Now, dogs split off from wolves in the evolutionary line between 15 and 40,000 years ago. So it was a while back, and it happened because this is how we theorize that it happened, was that humans were gathered in groups that were hunting and gathering, and dogs would find the refuse from these early humans, leaving behind bones or scraps of meals or anything like that. And the wolves would find it, they would eat it, and they figured out that, hey, hanging around these guys, not a bad idea, because they leave behind these scraps. So that's how dogs started to break off in an evolutionary line. They started to evolve slightly differently from wolves. Because imagine for a second that you're one of those early humans, you see an animal digging through your trash pile, essentially, and if they're friendly, if they don't growl at you, or if they approach you, if they're kind of bold like that, you probably want to keep them around. They seem really nice. They seem like they might be able to help protect you. But if they're kind of standoffish and a little bit mean, you'd chase them off. You don't want them near your stuff. You don't want them near your children or anything like that. So that's how we bred dogs, to be more friendly and more acquainted with humans compared to birds. Sorry, not birds. Oh my gosh. Looked at a sign over there. It says birds. Wolves. My bad. So that's why dogs act the way that they do. They're far more friendly and less standoffish as a whole than wolves. So originally, we kind of had dogs that were, if you think kind of similar to like huskies or Malamutes, things like that. Those are fairly similar to wolves, especially in looks. But more breeds started to really appear around 1,000 to 2,000 years ago. Humans started realizing that, hey, we can start breeding dogs to do different things. So, we have dogs that are good at guarding things, dogs that are good at shepherding, we have dogs that are good at smelling, we have dogs that are good at companionship, and humans started to breed dogs into those specific jobs for them. And some breeds that we know and are really popular today are as young as maybe 100 to 200 years old. So we have some really early examples of dogs, but breeds didn't come around for a little while, and it was used originally as like a working thing. But through artificial, that's how we evolve them is through artificial selection, because we as humans saw, okay, this dog is really good at smelling and this dog is really good at smelling. Let's breed them together. Their puppies should be really good at smelling. And then you take the ones of those that are best at picking up scents and you breed them with other dogs that are best at picking up scents, and soon enough you have a very well designed dog that is specific for scent. Let's see. Okay, sorry. Something that's kind of interesting is that some breeds, like I said, like wolves or huskies or Malamutes, will seem similar to wolves, and they might be more closely related to wolves than other dogs. For example, like a Chihuahua. But all dog breeds are closer related to each other than any of them to wolves. So does that make sense? We've got some. Let's say if we have Huskies right here, they're closer related to wolves, which are over here, than they are than Chihuahuas are, but these two are closer to each other. So let's just talk about some physical differences between the two, between wolves and dogs. Generally, wolves are longer. They have longer mouths, longer snouts. They have longer and stronger teeth and jaws. So dogs have fairly long canines, the teeth, the pointy teeth right in the front there. Dogs have fairly long canines, but wolves will have even longer ones and even stronger jaws. And because we've kind of bred dogs to be these friendly, companionable animals, they often have rounder faces, floppier ears, curly tails, shorter snouts, things that we find adorable, things that we think are cute and fun. Those are the kinds of things that we've bred them for. Wolves also have larger feet, and their middle two toes, they got 2 toes here and 2 toes on the side, and their front 2 toes right here are longer than on dogs, and it actually helps them to convert energy better into movement. It helps to spring them forward a little bit better than with dogs. Other differences is that wolves breed once a year, whereas dogs can breed multiple times a year. Wolves' stomachs are a lot tougher. They can eat more raw meat than dogs can. They can go longer without meat. So if you have a dog, your pet dog needs to have a fairly regular diet where they're regularly eating the same food, or it can upset their stomach. But wolves naturally are going to need to have a tougher stomach simply because they might need to go a long time between eating meat and then having a lot of meat all at once, because it's just naturally how it happens. So, generally, wolves are better bred for surviving in the wild. Dogs would not be able to survive without us, the way that they're bred now. Some wild dogs live out in the world, but they don't survive and thrive the same way that wolves do, and how dogs thrive when they live with us. So, that's what happens when you domesticate animals. They just do better when they are under the care of humans. That's why they've been domesticated. Okay, let's see. Oh, another really, really cool thing that difference between dogs and wolves is if you look at a picture of wolves' eyes, if you actually see, they have really dark outlines to their eyes, and you can't see the whites of their eyes hardly at all. If you look at people, if I look to the side, you can see the whites of my eyes when I look, and that's because we're very visual animals. So we have to look around and we can see from afar if another human is doing the same thing. So if we are able to clearly see the whites of our eyes to help distinguish where someone is looking. So we have, dogs have a similar thing where they can look around and we can see the whites of their eyes a lot better than with wolves. So their eyes are adapted for us. It's made so that we can better understand them, and they know to look to our eyes because we can easily direct them. If you ever are playing with a dog and you quickly look to the side and don't move any other part of your body, it's likely that the dog will look in the same direction that you're looking. Now I have a couple of common questions that happen about dogs that people might wonder from time to time, like, hey, I have a pet dog. I want to know a little bit more about him. So for example, does my dog love me? Now, that's a question I get a lot from a lot of people, just wanting to know, like, oh, I take care of this dog and I love him so much, but does he love me back? Well, it's not quite the same thing as the way that we love our dogs. We understand that humans care about each other in lots of different levels. You might love somebody as a friend or as a family member or romantically, but dogs do care about us the same way that they would care about other members of their pack. So they see us as family, essentially, and they release hormones of calm and happiness in their brains when they see their pack, both dogs and their humans. Another question is, does my dog think that I'm a dog? And it's a really interesting fact because there was a study done about dogs and cats where they did a brain scan to see which parts of the brain light up when they see different things. So when cats see other cats, a specific part of their brain lights up. And then when cats see humans, that same part of their brain does the exact same reaction. So it's possible that cats see us as big cats. However, dogs see us as not dogs because one part of their brain lights up when they see dogs and a different part lights up when they see humans or other animals. So they understand that we're not dogs, but they're okay with that. They're good to pack bond with whatever is friendly enough to them. Another question, why does my dog like to smell gross things? Well, some things that might smell really nasty to us would actually smell very interesting to a dog. We have around 6 million scent receptors in our nose, and dogs have around 300 million. So they can smell things, they can smell a lot more depth to things than we can. So even if the smells are a little more nuanced and a little more interesting, our main sense is sight. We use sight for everything that we do. Like I said, we're so evolved to use sight that our eyes have evolved to be able to tell where other humans are looking. Now, dogs have fairly good sight, but smell is their main thing. So they're able to smell different things a lot better than we can. So while we might think it's something gross, it's just something interesting to them. All right, some other questions were, how can I tell if my dog is angry or just playing? The answer would be body language. Sometimes it's hard for us because we see that any kind of play as possibly aggressive, but once you learn the body language of your dog, then you'll understand that they just speak a little bit differently than we do. So, often growling or barking can be aggressive, but maybe your dog is just very vocal when they play. Other things that show that they're having a good time is tails wagging, when they bow down to play. That's a dog asking another dog, hey, come play with me, please. Now, the other cool thing is that dogs and wolves both play. But they have very different reasons for doing it. So dogs, on one hand, they play because they are having fun and it just feels good and they get a good social interaction. Kind of the same reason that we talk to other people and we interact and we laugh and we have fun. They have a good time. Now wolves, they play because it is fun. That's what encourages them to do it. But it's more important because it not only builds social skills, it also helps to hone the instincts and the senses that build that are for hunting and for surviving in the wild. So like I said, wolves are far more likely to need things to survive, while dogs do things more dependent on us. So that's kind of one of the main big differences, is that dogs are better at being a wild animal wolves are better at being a wild animal than the dogs that we know and love. If you have any more questions about dogs, dog psychology, or dog evolution, go ahead and drop them on the video here, and I will come back and answer them whenever you ask. But for now, that is all for Life Science Live today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week. Have a good one.